Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. My name is Escalade.
And I am, oh man, I know we're making up names.
Sonata. I don't
I
know.
am Mike.
None of I'm not going to make much sense today because I'm fucking tired and I've got that brain thing where like when you're really tired and then you have like a really intense mental day. So I'm just like, so yeah, that was my attempt at humor. That's probably that's as good as it's going to get, and it's not going to get that good again, to paraphrase Blue Lou Boyle from True Romance. Mike, I apologize because I deviated from our pairing.
We're
Mike
out of
asked me,
sync.
we're out of sync, so we're trying not to do this often, but I needed this. This is the last one of these, man. My neighbor Vince brought me this from Northern Michigan. This is Middlecoast Brewing's Porterhouse Coffee Porter. This is the best coffee porter I've ever fucking had, ever.
Oh, I
Uh,
have that. No, just kidding.
it's so fucking, dude. It's so good, and I just have to have something with some like caffeine. So, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Two Women from New Glarus.
Oh,
Ooh, it's
nice.
probably
Now,
my favorite beer from them. I will. I have one I hold for you and for us for future, but it's all I had that was cold, so that's what I'm drinking.
okay, so Two
The
Women is a
old.
lager. It's one of New
There you go.
Glarus's signature lagers, and I've had it not in a while. It's fucking delicious. I'm sure I had it because of you. Oh, look at that, man. That looks like you're drinking
The
God's urine.
gods.
A nice sparkling glass of God's urine.
Oh, let's
I'm
keep
sorry.
that going.
You're
No,
in
it's
for a big surprise.
ooh.
That's fucking awesome. Oh, wow. Wow, we could have filmed this and been an installment in the next iteration of the VHS franchise, man.
Yeah.
So, not to belabor anything, but I thought we'd do, as long as we're kind of on track to do these weekly, and Penguin is weekly. I thought we'd do a little Penguin feature. What do you think
Oh,
of this week's
we
Penguin, episode number 3?
I enjoyed it, and we could call this segment "Under the Umbrella."
Yeah, there you go. I'll come up with
Ooh.
some snappy bullshit.
I enjoyed it a lot. I like seeing Vic's story there.
Dude,
The the
great opening.
man,
Great
yeah,
opening. Wow.
man. I like now. I feel sorry for his family,
Yeah.
and just that flood of water just smacking his apartment. Ooh.
I didn't realize at first where we were in the timeline, watching week to week and not having seen Batman the movie in so long. Like there's cues there that I just didn't even pick up. So I'm thinking he's like, taking the day off from hanging out with the Penguin and seeing his family. And then, yeah, then it was like the wave hit the building and the timeline hit my mind. I was like, oh shit, oh my God. Okay, so this is like the origin, right?
Yeah, when he met the girl up, when he's walking down the street with the pet, like the bag, I think it was definitely meant to make you feel like, oh, he's doing a delivery for Penguin. And then you get to the
Yes.
house, you're like, oh, shoot, his family's dead. So what's up with this?
Yeah, I forgot they were dead. Had they definitively said they were dead previously?
Yes, he did
Okay,
say
I
his
didn't
parents
remember
had
that at
passed
all.
away.
I did
Yes.
not remember that at all.
I'm pretty sure they did, anyways.
Eh,
Uh, yeah, nice little girl there. I don't know if that drug dealer kid's gonna come back, but it's like nice that his dad's just like, "Oh, you drug dealer," and then later on,
That's interesting. I think he will. I think that's gonna somehow play into this maybe. Um, Man, it was just really like there were, it was cool to finally see the drug they've been talking about and this and that. But and the like the coup with the Falcone family and whatnot, but or the attempted coup, whatever it is at this point. I mean, I don't even know where we are at by the end of this episode as far as how that goes. But
I don't think it went very further other than here's Bliss, Bliss,
well, because they
a
corner
natural
him,
drug. Yeah.
they have him and Sophia on the ground about to execute him, right? And
Oh
then
yeah,
Vic,
that's right.
and then he's like, leave her, leave Sophia. So now is Sophia going to be mad? Like, we don't know, you know, where, because they made the move against Johnny Vito or whatever the fucking VD, Johnny VD, because he's banging, he's banging all these broads. He's got VD. But I felt like a lot of great stuff, but the main man, the fucking story, the emotional connection between Oz and Vic was like huge. It was huge. It
Yeah,
was,
I don't think Oz has that much of a connection to him as we think. I think he's just playing as because Penguin's always in it for himself. I can't see him having a friend. It'd be nice if he had a friend, but I think he's just playing him like he plays
well,
everyone else.
well, I think I think there's more because I think in the whole scene in the bathroom, which was probably the best scene, where he's like yelling at him because he thinks he was going to leave. He's he's upset because the kid means something to him. However, I think what this episode does, setting up the fact that he fucked Sophia over, and she obviously meant something to him at some point.
Yeah.
I think we're setting up the fact that he's going to fuck Vic over by the end. Like, I think that'll be like the denouement of the season
Oh,
is,
I'm sure.
you
Yeah.
know,
And Vic turns into the next Batman villain or something.
I hope not. But yeah,
So
it was really good, dude. Each episode, I'm more and more convinced. I'm like, man, it's just really good.
yeah, it's solid. I'm enjoying the everything. I can't like it needs to be bad so I can complain about it.
No, I did enough complaining on the last episode for like the rest of the year, I think.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but it was a good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. I never if there's like a next on thing, I never watch them, so I don't know what's coming. I prefer it that way.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one of those, so which is good. Usually, I cut it out when the credits goes on. So, yeah, I agree. I don't need to see. Then you start thinking about it, then you start plotting it, and you're like, oh crap, now I ruined it for me.
Yeah, or they
Or it
just
doesn't do what I want, and then I get mad, and then I claim it's woke.
I feel like it's for me, it's more a chance that they're going to show me something that's going to ruin something, right? Like we had a conversation off camera
Agreed.
last week. I'm going to see Joker tomorrow, and we had a conversation off camera last week. My girlfriend has a theory based on a shot in the trailer, and you have the same theory. And based on everybody is just, I mean, I've not heard anything good about the new Joker movie.
Yeah,
However,
I'm sad about that.
I didn't hear a lot good about the first one, and I loved it. And so did Kirsten. So it's not gonna affect my viewing at all. But I also have this sneaking suspicion because when the original one came out, we saw it, and then we had Beyond Fest. I was still in LA, and they do like yearly programming. They did a free show with Todd Phillips there, and he said there will not be a sequel. Like it's a standalone movie. There will not be one. There's no room for one, whatever, right? And then like a month later, like they announce it. I'm wondering if he might have built a way into the sequel to ensure that he never has to make another one. I just have this feeling. I don't know. So we'll
Like
see.
he maybe tanked it on purpose because he didn't want to do a sequel.
Because I mean, I remember I was like talking after seeing him say that, right? I was telling people, I'm like, this guy's fucking awesome. He said, and then like whoever, I forget who it was, like sent me a text like, oh yeah, your boy. Yeah, a lot of integrity. And they sent me the article, like they announced and I'm like, well, you know what happened? DC backed up a fucking dump truck of money to his fucking front door and just
Yeah,
fucking poured it in, right? But so
and
he gets paid regardless.
yeah,
I mean, that first one I just think is a fucking masterpiece. So I'm
I
just
don't
wondering.
I don't think there's work is work, and if someone goes like, hey, we liked what you did, make a sequel, even though we didn't want to, and clearly he had some idea there. There's nothing wrong with that, whether it
No, there's
panned
nothing
out or
wrong with it. I
not.
agree. I agree.
Uh, don't I get tired of the whole. I mean, we're older now. Selling out's a totally different thing to us than it is back when we were
It's
kids.
not a matter of sell. It's not a matter of selling
But
out
you know
at
what I mean?
all.
Like you said, your friends like integrity or whatever. It's like, no, it's not about integrity. It's about working.
Yeah,
And who knows? Maybe he actually is like, oh yeah, I don't want to do a sequel, but if you're gonna give me a bunch of money, I can work with people I liked before. You know,
yeah, yeah. I'm sure
you
that
know,
had something to do with it.
yeah. I don't know what happens because I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna wait because I don't need to go see that in a theater. I'm the problem with movies,
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think I'm not dissing it though. Like,
I'm looking
but
forward to it, man. The trailer
okay,
looks solid to me. But two does not make a franchise, right?
no,
And if you see where I'm going with this,
no.
so there's a new show on HBO.
Oh,
And
franchise.
yeah, so didn't
Yes.
you say you watched for, I don't know, is that like did this just start? Because it's a comedy show basically making fun of Marvel Comics, Marvel's MCU, right?
It is very much a guy trying, like a production, a high-end production company trying to make a movie about a comic book set in a franchise universe. And there's like the thing that kind of got me is there's like one scene where it's like these fish people are fighting these other people. Then they had all this stuff filmed and all that. And then the I'm gonna say the main studio exec guy that comes in is like, oh, by the way, we killed the fish people in the other movie, so you have to ditch all that. And it's just like, yeah, that's a Marvel movie, like because you hear interviews of people talk about it. It's like, yeah, I did all this stuff, and then I want to say, oh, Elizabeth Olsen, is that right?
Oh, yeah,
Scarlet
Scarlet
Witch.
Witch.
I just saw an interview of her recently, just like everyone's like, you didn't know uh, who Mr. Fantastic was going to be John, what the hell is it? Dude from The Office was going to be Mr. Fantastic in the movie. You filmed a scene with him. She's like, no, I didn't. I went did a scene with a guy who might have been.
Well, why would anyone assume that she would? I don't know why anyone would assume that she would know. Like, I mean, they obviously do
Well,
things to prevent
be,
people from knowing that stuff. I mean, that's like been
yeah.
baked into their protocol the whole time. So I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of people out there don't really get how Hollywood makes movies.
I
Like
agree with that, but I feel
they're
like the way Marvel has made movies has become this like people I feel like know a lot more about that process than ever before because of them.
yes, and I think this show shines a really good light on the chaos that goes into
Okay.
making a movie, and not only a movie for a property, like a big old franchise universe. And there's some good jokes in there, and you know, good actors looks like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this pans out. It's only a half
Okay.
hour long, so I think it's a must see for anyone who wants like into seeing how the cookies baked,
Okay.
the buttons chopped, or the sausage is made, however that phrase goes.
I was going to talk about real quick. So at the shop this week, I've been reading Garth Ennis and Jason Burrows' Get Fury, and the sixth and final issue came out. So they brought Marvel Max back, and I think the original Fury limited series that Garth Ennis and I think Derek Robertson
Yeah,
did in the early 2000s might have been the first Max book, or maybe not. Maybe Punisher was the first Max book. Garth
I
Ennis
think Punisher
also.
was.
I mean, let's face it, Max was basically created for Garth Ennis.
Yeah, I can't. Shoot, what was the first one? Was it the gay cowboy?
Ah,
Rawhide Kid? Remember they were making a big deal out of Rawhide Kid? They had to make him a Max title, even though it wasn't really a Max. because
No,
they're
not at
bringing him
all.
back.
No. This is fucking awesome. This series was really, really good. Jason Burrows, I'm a big fan of his art, just from when he worked with Alan Moore and a bunch of other people at Avatar. And he's done so, like, I guess I wasn't aware that he'd been doing some Marvel stuff for a while, so I'm glad to see that because I always thought he was a great artist. And he only gets better. But I'm not reading very much Marvel now, but this
You're the fourth person to tell me how good this is, so I'm
it's
definitely gonna have to
really
check it
good.
out.
And dude, they stuck to landing to a point where like it is a severe fucking ending. Like I was like, holy shit, this I'm reading this, and there is some really depraved and just like sad stuff in it. It's the premise of the book was basically like in Vietnam in like 1971, Fury gets captured by Viet Cong, and then the CIA approaches Frank Castle and says, "Hey, you've worked with Fury out here, and you're like one of the best we have. We need you to go in and kill him because he knows too much. And if they get secrets out, we can't extract them. And if they get anything out of them, we're fucked." But then what you find out after Frank takes the mission is the guys that actually send him on it are the ones that are running like a heroin operation, smuggling heroin back in dead GIs' bodies, ripped from the headlines. Um, and they're basically just sending him there to kill Fury because they're afraid the Fury knows about it. But then it becomes all this like mental chess, and I don't know. It was really good, and it was Garth Ennis. It's just fun to see him play with the Marvel universe, and there's not many characters he's going to be able to play with. And I think he does a really good.
No.
I feel like at this point, the original Fury and Frank Castle are characters that Marvel doesn't really know what to do with, so it's perfect for him. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have any impact on any continuity or whatever. So let him do that. And I think it was a good call on their part, and it got me buying a Marvel book. So
That's good. I was gonna check. I did read the first issue. Now, when you brought that up, I realized I read the first one. I liked it a lot.
good.
Um, but I was gonna wait for the trade. It's one of those
Yeah,
like I
wait for
like
the
this so
trade.
much, I'm going to buy it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And what was your other
Um,
favorite book?
So I also wanted to mention this was just something I saw. It was totally not on my radar till the last minute. So Brian Azzarello and Vanessa Del Rey, Azzarello, most famous probably for 100 Bullets, but did a run on Hellblazer. I'm blanking on what else he's done, but a storied writer from the last 20 something years. So this is for Boom, and Vanessa Del Rey did the art. I mean, she's done a lot of stuff, but I know her primarily from the Empty Man series.
Okay.
And this is The Creeping Below. The first issue came out last week. And basically, it's like this girl who is a photographer is in Norway, kind of just checking out the black metal scene, and kind of runs afoul of some people, and these other guys, this band takes her under their wing, and they want her to photograph them out in the woods, and then some really fucked up shit happens. And so I don't really know where the book is going right now. It's
Okay.
dark, it's fucked up, but it was interesting. So I dug it, and it's Boom, and it's small. So I just wanted to kind of spread the word, and definitely metalheads out there might like it, or anybody fascinated by the completely bizarre, Norwegian black metal lifestyle. But that was really it. I end up with a huge dark horse, not huge, but like probably 10 or so. The guys at my shop, Ryan and Walter, when I walked in, they're like, "Hey, here's your pull. You don't have to buy all this. We just bought, somebody's collection. We saw this stuff. I thought you might want it. You can have it for like." They gave it to me for a really good price. It was just a bunch of old out of print Dark Horse like Alien and Predator comics. I was like, yes, I want them.
Oh, nice.
But the fucking keys in that, I had just been so last week after we did our episode, I was like, I know I saw that Robin limited series. I know I had both of them, and I know I saw one recently. And my Batmans are in a short box. I don't go into that often, so I was like, I'm gonna go and look. Right,
Blow the dust off.
I have issue number 4. of one of the. I think it's the first one. It's got a hologram on the cover.
Oh,
Remember
that's
that?
the Joker one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I don't know what where the fuck did the rest of there have been so many weird like things missing from my comic collection over the last 20 years. And I know some of it is when I moved to LA. I remember I sold you through you. I sold your shop like a lot of stuff because I was just I need to get rid of single issues and I can trade it in and get credit and buy trade paperbacks and that's
Yeah.
better. But like this makes no sense. Like number four, where the fuck are the other three? So weird.
I don't know.
No, and it's so
I
just
just
so fucking weird.
I just got to that point in the Robin
The
trade
trade.
where it's I just read the first Joker one last night. And I don't know if you're familiar with. I've been kind of waiting for this because are you familiar how Chuck Dixon leans these days politically?
By you saying that, I'm going to assume it's like right. I
It's
mean, Chuck
it's
Dixon sounds like he's going to kick you in the teeth if you don't agree with the right. I mean, my name's Chuck Dixon. Fuck you. I don't know. He might be a
I
lovely human being. I'm just.
he might be, but he is very much a Trump supporter. And I'm not gonna fault that, but for the life of me, I was like, I never saw that in a guy. Like, like from everything I read, I never really picked on up on that. And now I got the whole like, what was it like? The first issue is like, once again, it's just like in Batman White Knight. It's like all those liberals getting rid of letting the Joker out. Like,
Which is funny because it was fucking Ronnie
yeah,
Reagan, a conservative, that opened the insane asylums and let run free, run
yeah,
free in the
exactly.
streets, right? Oh my God.
But this is like a bleeding heart liberal. It's like, oh, no,
That's
Chuck.
funny.
No, Chuck. No.
That's funny. Um, yeah, but so I was looking at that, and then I've always, since the day it came out, I've had Batman versus Predator #1. So this is from 1991, and it was like a $5 prestige format book, right?
Yes.
Gorgeous cover. And I never had the rest of them. And I had just thought of this fairly recently too, like within the last 2 months. It's like, man, I should like look for the other two. I got them.
Oh,
I
good.
got them. And it's weird. So what I didn't realize, so in this stack that they got me at Rick's, there was #1, but it was not the prestige format. #2, it was the prestige format. #3, not the prestige format. So I was like, wait, are these the same series or was this a subsequent?
I think the
They released a prestige and a 190. So the prestige was 499 and then the 199 just floppy.
yeah, I remember them doing that.
I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, that was how they got you.
But so I finally have that. So I reread #1. I got to read the other two. But
Nice.
it was a cool little poll, just a bunch of random. I mean, there was like two miniseries that I was missing one now after this, so I'll have to track the issues down the road. Not a big deal, but it's just cool. Stuff's out of print, and I hate what Marvel does with. I liked the what if they recently did a what if for Alien where it was the I'm blanking on his fucking name, but the Paul
Paul
Reiser
Reiser wrote
character.
that. You were talking about that,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, he didn't write it. He's like involved, so
Yeah.
he co-wrote it. But I actually liked that. Uh, I was shocked. I enjoyed it. It has slightly comical tone, but I dug it. But they're regular Alien books. I tried. I'm not a fan. They're great art, but there's like nothing to them at all. Nothing happens.
Speaking of crossovers, I read this last week. I've completely spaced on it. Um, so there's this video game DC or not DC Warner Brothers put out. It's
Hmm.
a fighting video game called Multiversity, I believe,
Hmm.
and they released a comic for it. So in the video game, it's all the Warner Brother properties fighting each other in a Street Fighter-esque Super Smash Brothers sort of way.
Does that include the Discovery properties too? So you get like the chick from Magnolia fighting with.
That that would be funny, but it is like for basically it's kind of aimed at kids. So it's like, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
Adventure Time, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, the little girl. Just like a mishmash of characters. So I was intrigued by the comic to see who would show up in it because it is a big license thing. And the other thing I like about it, it's written by Brian Q. Miller, who wrote the Batgirl series from the Stephanie Brown Batgirl series, which is A, one of my all-time favorite comic series,
Okay.
and B, 90% of the reason why I stopped reading DC because I canceled that book. Fair enough. So it's a writer I like, so I was familiar with that. And I read the second issue, and just to show you how insane it is, it's like Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman teaming up with Steven Universe, which is a cartoon on Cartoon Network, and fighting the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz. And at the end of the thing, a giant robot comes, and you just hear "wubba dub dub," and it's a giant robot Rick from Rick and Morty. So I'm getting a Batman versus Rick Morty comic, and just the amount of insanity behind this has just got me so pumped.
I
Because you
I
never think
have
of that crossover.
no, you would never. I have to say, Patton Oswalt is a very funny man. I think he's very intelligent.
Yes.
And I think he may be the cinematic modern Nostradamus because you recall the only thing I've ever seen from Parks and Rec is that extended filibuster scene.
Yes.
Dude, I more and more the last couple of years I'm like everything that motherfucker said is going to happen. Like I just feel like it is, you know.
Did you
Um,
know they actually synced the opening scene of um, Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett? Did you watch that?
yeah.
So, the hand comes out thing and all that. That first opening scene is synced to his speech about the Rise of the Twin Sons. Like they actually synced it for him,
Oh wow.
as if like, yeah, we just stole your idea and did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, so that's interesting though. So Batman versus Rick and Morty. That's
It's like like everything I want to read in comics, just a mishmash blender. And I want to play the game, but I don't have a system to play it on. I don't have a video game system.
right.
So, but it is one of those games like, oh, I could be Batman, I could fight Rick and Morty, and Adventure Time, which is another one of my favorite cartoons. Uh, it's weird being a target audience.
Yeah, it is. It totally is. Adventure Time is something I know you've talked about before, and Richard Starkings, who was the creator of Elephant Men,
Uh-huh.
he once told me because he was a regular at the comic book. He's like, "Do you read this?" And I was like, "No, no." And he's like, and I literally was I was he started talking about it like it was Shakespeare, and I'm like, Richard, I don't know if you're like I literally couldn't tell if he was bullshitting me or not.
He
And I know
wasn't.
people.
It's brilliant.
I know. Okay, so I know people enjoy it, but I mean, he had such a high regard for it. I'm like, I just don't believe what you're telling me right now. Um,
It's very much like I think I described it to you like this before. It's as if Grant Morrison,
yes.
and you took the level of Grant Morrison, like insanity and connections and everything that we like about Grant Morrison, and you applied it to a kid's cartoon on a level that's like, and then it's a blooming onion of like uh heartwarming moments and just like post-apocalyptic stories and vampires and monsters and just and everything's like little connections that pay off that in like later on, or you like have suspicions of stuff and it's like it pays off later on. And it's still it's ended. The actual cartoon series is ended and they went back and they did like four movies that tie into it for Max, like straight to Max movies. Those were really good. And they just announced they're doing like a couple of shows that I'm kind of iffy about. One of them being like a straight up like The Adventures of Beemo. It's like a kids cartoon. I was like, straight up, guys, this is for kids, like
Hmm.
not like Adventure Time was for kids. Like this is straight up for 5-year-olds. But
Hmm.
it's kind of fun that they're going back to it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Oh, and the Fiona. Oh, it's just so. I could talk for hours about it too.
I have to. It's the same thing with Venture Brothers. Like, it's not. I don't doubt you.
Yeah, it's the problem with it is like it's like our friend Joe. I tell this to him all the time. He's like, no, it's dumb, and it's like, and then he'll go and watch the episodes at the beginning. It's like, no, because they are dumb. It's aimed at kids. It's just a slow, like season one. You find out like
No,
it's
don't say anything. But
yeah,
it's just it's interesting because I have such a I'm so jaded on cartoons, and I don't know why. There's like, there's Cowboy Bebop, which I maintain is just one of the best things out there. And they literally say the work that transcends the genre, and it's what it is. I don't like
yeah,
anime really at all. Um, and which is funny because before I moved to LA, I didn't really know what anime was. And you lent me Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I liked it. And I feel like I watched one or two other things. And as soon as I moved to LA, and I'd never even heard of manga before. I knew what like Ghost in the Shell was growing up and certain
yeah.
things, but I didn't know about it. And as soon as I worked at a Borders for 5 years and was inundated with that shit, and had to
Ooh,
deal with the people that went into the
yeah,
section and stuff, like I just developed a bias. And Cowboy Bebop is just, 100% above all reproach. And then there's the stuff that like I grew up with, like Transformers. Well, we're really that's pretty much probably the only one where it's like, yeah, I mean, I dig it at a nostalgia level, but also there's stuff about Transformers, the original cartoon that only the original cartoon that I like.
yeah,
But other than that, it's really like I just watched this Terminator Zero. It was good. Um, that Primal show is fucking amazing. That like, I mean,
yeah.
I've wept on that show. So
That's
that show is
that's
huge to me.
Tarzinski. That's the guy who
Yeah,
created Powerpuff
Samurai
Girls.
Jack.
Samurai Jack. I never got into Samurai Jack. I
Me
tried.
neither. I mean, I need to give it a try because I like Primal so much. But I mean, maybe I will.
Not like Primal's, from what I understand, Primal's very much Adult Swim, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just it's so it's very cool as far as like the visuals and like the kind of primal violence of the Stone Age. But then, I mean, you just feel so the bond because it's the caveman whose family is killed
yeah,
by Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a mother whose cubs are killed by these other Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he goes and finds her, thinking she's the killer, and then sees that these other ones are killing her cubs, so they both end up like alone, so they become alone together, and it's just it's a beautiful show, and
yeah,
it explores like just really interesting facets of Stone Age, Pulp Fiction. I mean, weird ancient cults and fucking monsters, and I don't know. It's really really cool. But I mean, it gives you all the feels, man. I was very fucking impressed with that show. I still need to finish I think the second season. But yeah, I get a taste. The Batman and like I love that. Like I get a taste for animation sometimes, but there's a lot of. I mean, and then there's like the comedy stuff, like Rick and Morty. I like it. I like it the same way I like Jackass or I don't know. Like I feel like there's a well, Rick and Morty's really smart, but also it just sometimes it like if I watch too many episodes, I'm like I'm good for like a year. I'm cool.
yeah.
Um, it just it's funny because of what it is, but what it is can really become exhausting to me.
I think Rick and Morty is very much like it's got a very toxic fan base.
Just gonna say that.
There is another anime I like a lot, which the two I've recommended to you, you've loved. So I'm gonna recommend this one. It was on you. You should be able to watch it free on YouTube. It's a Gundam series called Iron Blooded Orphans, and I love the fuck out of it.
I thought you said iron-blooded orifices for a minute. I'm like, no, I'm not typing that in my search
No.
engine, sir.
Okay. It's
Iron-blooded
2 seasons long.
orphans.
Yeah, it's 2 seasons long. Um, you should be able to find it free to scan, watch it somewhere. It might be on
Now,
Hulu. It might be on
let me
thing.
ask you though, because I could never ever make it through even 5 minutes of Neon Genesis Evangeline ever again. Like I don't know whatever whoever I was when I liked that, I could never get back there again. Like it's I just can't do it. All those tropes. Which when I saw that, I didn't know that was such an isolated thing. Like I didn't know that those were all tropes, and I can't. So if it even bears any resemblance, I'm just not
It,
gonna.
okay, so what is A? They did. I don't know if you saw this on Amazon. They did 3 more movies over the past years for Ava, which is the final story.
Nah, I don't care.
It's great. But that's a different story for a different tale. This is so Gundam is a property that's been around for years.
Yes, yeah, I knew
Yes.
that.
It is a like its own take on that Ute property set in the distant future where a bunch of on Mars and in space, a lot of like orphans, runaways, slave kids, kids are traded into slaves, are basically put into the military complex uh, business and are used as like pawns, essentially.
Okay,
Throw, like, oh, the bad guys are coming, just throw the kids out there.
okay.
Um, what I like about it is there's the kids led by this kid named Orga, I think his name is, if I'm pronouncing it right, and Mika, who pilots the Gundam of the show, because it's giant robots, and I love giant robots, but this I like this better because it's self-contained. Um, they hold on, I wasn't planning on talking about this, so I gotta think about this for a second. So the thing I like about it is so there's a bunch of kids on there, from 10 to like 18 to 20, probably some of them are in their 20s, and they're all kind of like stuck in the system. They're the pawns, and one day due to reasons which I'm not going to get into, but basically the government's coming, the big bad government's coming to like shut them down, and the owners of the private army they work for hightailed in the back, just like, hey, just send the kids out. Well, they'll cover for us while we run, and they take that opportunity to awaken the Gundam that they have in the basement, basically, and use it, which is like 200 years old, but still more high tech than what they got now. And with that in their low tech, well, not low tech, still high tech, it's several thousand years in the future, so it's still high tech to us. Um, but they use that to fight the government away and show that they are actually strong. While the
Hmm.
government's like, holy shit, we're fighting kids, this is not honorable. We're decimating these child soldiers, and they fight back and get their way, and then they use that opportunity to take over the private army and make it themselves, and
Okay,
they control the private army. So the rest of the series is from their point is them just trying to get ahead,
okay.
trying to make it in the world. And I like it because it's just like like a cast of almost like 200 kids, and they all have like they're your background characters that you hear names of, like, oh hey, you Bob, go and put the thing in there, and then you see him get killed. You're like, oh no, they killed Bob, or they have like bigger roles, and they're all just trying to make it to the next level because they have nothing and they're clawing their way to the top. And that's what I like about it. It's just these kids just trying to become something. And it doesn't always work in their way. It doesn't always work for them. So like
Hmm.
there's a lot of setbacks. And there's the soundtrack isn't anything like Cowboy Bebop because I like a good soundtrack too, but there's like this great Spanish guitar-y riff when they come out and play. It's like do 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 do, and I love it. I still listen to that song every once in a while. I want to get pumped up because it's like when they like get to the giant robot battle and here's the Spanish guitar playing and it's like building up and building up and building up and then it like crescendos, I guess you could say, to like a beautiful little like and I'm not doing it justice because I'm not a music major.
No, you know what though?
I just know I like it. Like so when the kid, when he finally shows up and he's playing the song hits, and you're getting like into like oh we could do it, we could do it, and they do it, and they fight the bad guys and win, and make political choices. There's some interesting because they don't live by the rules of society because they don't know the rules of my society, so
Okay.
they're all just learning how to be. Some of them learning how to be human, how to be free. Um, it's just a great journey of just kids trying to grow up, and I can relate to that because I didn't know a lot of that stuff growing up. I had to teach
I,
myself how to do stuff, so it's relatable to me.
so you may not have done the musical accompaniment any justice, but I'll give this a shot. I know I say that a lot. I'll try to give it a shot before
Yeah.
the next episode, and just to check in and see because I mean it's rough because it's 31 days of Halloween right now, so it's like
Oh, I
doesn't
don't
even.
expect you to watch it anytime soon.
But but I mean I do this a lot. I'm like,
Like
yeah, I'll check it out, and I mean to, and I just don't. Like left to my own devices, I sometimes just. But
if you wanted to rewatch it, let me know and I'll watch it with you.
well, let me look into it first and see if it's going to
Yeah,
be something that I'm going to watch, and if it is, then maybe we could do
because
that. That'd be cool.
I like this thing. So like I don't know if you realize this about me. I don't rewatch a lot of things.
Hmm.
I've watched this 4 times already, and I want to watch it again,
Okay.
which is to me is a big deal.
Yeah.
It is my favorite anime that I've seen in years. Is definitely in the past 20 years because yeah, Evangelion is 30 years old. Cowboy Bebop is 30 years old also. There hasn't been a new one since. And I've
Right.
watched a lot of them and have enjoyed a lot of them. Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Chainsaw Man. I've watched a bunch and I like them. I like them a lot, but nothing I've liked as much as like Iron
Yeah.
Blooded Orphans really hit it with me.
Okay.
Much like how old men like westerns, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a weird like kids trying to make it on their own and
Okay.
not really succeeding. And
Well,
I the other thing I like about it is a lot of people hate it because Orca makes bad decisions, or the main guy makes some bad decisions
well,
throughout the
thus
whole
is
thing.
life.
Thus is life, exactly, which is why I love it. It's like, oh yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
Um, are you familiar at all with a comic that ran for a couple years by Dan Waters called Homesick Pilots?
I am familiar with it. I never read it.
I I thought of this just now when you were like, because I love giant robots. Where it's like I don't even I'm not going to do this justice, but it's basically like it starts with these like kind of like punk kids and bands,
Okay.
and then it gets into this thing with this haunted house, and then it gets into this thing with the government that takes haunted houses and makes them into giant fighting robots.
All right, I'm down.
I mean, dude, I don't even know how to explain. They're not robots exactly, but they're like they might as well. Like the house will like stand up and fight another.
No,
It
I
is
get
such a
it. I remember
weird.
hearing about it, and I didn't hear. I think I heard it was like a punk band going in a haunted house. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of neat, but I didn't know the haunted house turned into a giant robot.
It's like this. There's this like government thing that they stumble upon that like basically weaponizes these ghosts, and it's just. I've been meaning to go back because I read it as it came out,
Uh huh.
and You know, I don't even think I think it's like 18 issues or something. I don't even think it went that long,
Yeah,
but
it's not that long. I think it's like 2 or 3 trades. Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I think you might dig it.
Yeah, I remember people telling me that. I don't know why. I know just the haunted house part, just kind of like, okay, horror.
It's definitely not a horror book at all. But whenever I'd read it, I thought I'd always think of you and Joe Kohler.
Joe Kohler likes it. He's the one who recommends it to me.
I had a feeling. I
Yeah.
may have even talked to Joe about it. I mean, you know, right, the great
Yeah.
conversation eraser. Like, we never talked about that. No, you've talked about it 9 times on the show. Anyway, before we do that
That's
again.
why we filmed this. That's why we filmed this so we can remember what we talked
Yeah, but
about.
it doesn't work. It totally doesn't work.
No.
Because I don't go back and watch the old episodes and just put them up, and then the people that watch them are like, "Fuck you." Um, we might have even talked about Penguin episode 3 3 years ago. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that makes
Maybe,
sense.
maybe. But until Penguin episode 2 comes out in 3 years,
Yes.
this is Drinking with Comics. I'm Shandor.
And I'm Micra.
Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.